I think before DeepSeek, nobody have imagined that we can have so much original creativity and innovation so soon. Me personally, I would think this will happen 3 or 5 years down the road. I'm personally confident about this, but I didn't expect it to come so soon. And I think it's groundbreaking because most of the past discourses is about, China, which is good at replicating and iterating and scaling from 1 to 100 or 1 to 1,000, right? But many people, including me, we didn't actually fully believe that China was ready yet for this 0 to 1 kind of innovation. And I think DeepSeek is very, getting very close to that kind of innovation. Maybe not exactly 0 to 1, but at least 0.5 to 1, which is really, really different. And I actually think there are many places, where China is already doing a lot of original innovation. If you look at drones, if you look at battery technology, we are getting very close to at least 0.5 to 1 or 0 to 1 even. But because the world's attention has been focused so much on DeepSeek, then this moment has become such a big event that everyone actually now take notice that Chinese innovation is on the table. It's really a defining moment. And we were going to see more of these cases, I think.
Your company, Baiguan and a big One Lab, actually has been covering the Chinese tech scene for quite a while already.
Yes.
And you guys have kind of focused on translating, some of the innovations, or at least covering some of the innovations in China for the world to kind of appreciate and understand. A year ago, I think it was you who kind of highlighted that, China could enter the AI race or even potentially emerge as a peer to the US. That wasn't the mainstream view back then. You had a caveat for sure, but could you help us think through your key thesis back then as to why China could emerge as a technological peer?
I basically look at the current generation of AI technology, and you have basically three components of that, right? You have the compute, which is like the GPUs, the chips. You have the algorithms, which is really the core of the large language models. And then you have large number of data to train on and to make inference on, right? So basically, when I look at all these three, I don't see a fundamental barrier making it impossible for China to catch up. Chip wise, yes, we don't yet have as great a chip as, say, NVIDIA. NVIDIA's chip makes by TSMC, and we do have restrictions. But the fundamental physics of chip making and chip design is not like exclusive to anyone. It just takes some time and some energy to engineer and to iterate on engineering know-how, right? And we have an abundance of good engineers. So that's a time issue, not a fundamental issue. In terms of data, we have a lot of data. Maybe in terms of textual data, we don't have as rich as the English speaking world, but still, large language model doesn't have a language barrier, right? Each model is trained on all the languages in the world, open to the world, and also including all the math and all the coding. So for that, there's also no way to, shut China off from the great body of knowledge and information and data in the world. So that's not a fundamental barrier. And then you look at the algorithm, the basic principles of transformers, our current generation of AI technology, the basic principles are all there. It's not as if someone has invented or discovered the law of gravity while Chinese haven't, right? So it's not like a huge conceptual kind of threshold that is, inaccessible to China. So as long as the principles are there, there will be enough smart people to think about how to innovate and iterate under these principles. And what I didn't foresee is there are actually this kind of group in China like DeepSeek. They are using the same principle, fundamental principle, and the same fundamental cheap technology to basically arrive at an engineering kind of setup that could allow them to retain the same similar level of AI capability with inferior and smaller number of chips, right? That's a very good manifestation of this idea, as long as the principles are there. It just takes some engineering, some smart engineering, good teams to make it happen. So at the time, I just said, there was nothing that's barring China from achieving it. I just didn't realize it took so soon.
Back then, you kind of saw it as China had to catch up, but you didn't kind of have this view that, you could actually emerge as a peer that fast, right?
So, that could be the result of export controls. Without export controls, right, there's no way for, a local team to make innovation in this style. Like, the best thing you can do is just buy some high-end advanced GPUs from NVIDIA, pay the premium, because that's the established way to do, right? Now, with export controls, all these teams and engineers in China, they were forced to innovate on scarcity. So I think partially, and maybe even a great factor here is to, we should give our thanks to the US for closing the doors.
When I was reading up on DeepSeek's technical innovation, it was really on the fundamental architecture, right? That's where they were trying to innovate on vis-a-vis what their peers in the US were doing, which were kind of to build or trying to scale faster or scale bigger, but they didn't kind of like ask first principle questions, which I think the DeepSeek team did really well.
Yes, exactly. And so it just shows there's no lack of first principle thinking in China. It's just under the constraints, there will be maybe a whole nother route of technological tree. And that's actually pretty dangerous, I would say, for the West, because you are forcing technology to be more diversified and it will be up to the rest of the world to choose. While before, there may only be one path that everyone will follow and stick to. Now it's kind of divergent.
When I spoke to Prof. Ke Eugene like last year, she highlighted the same thing, which is that as the US started to increase trade barriers, for China, it would force them to innovate. It creates a new forcing function for innovation that might not have been there previously, because now you're actively thinking, how do I diversify my risk? How do I diversify my revenue? How do I actually go into new markets? Because my primary market in the past has been closed off, which also explains why maybe the trade patterns today, US doesn't serve as a big market for China as much as it did in the past.
Also, there's no turning back, even if today, of very low possibility of US saying, okay, we will not restrict you anymore. China will not take it. They would assume the doors will be shut, a day later. So it's really no turning back. Once this set in motion, it will just keep on growing. And then will be a real contest with equal weights. And the world is not just about China and US, right? Most of the people and companies live and operate beyond these two countries. And I think it's going to be amazing for the rest of the world. You will have more plurality and you have more choices to choose from. It's great for consumers. So I think it's very exciting for us to witness this so fast.